Welcome everyone to the second lecture of our 2014 Balanced Living Lecture Series. The series is sponsored by the Cincinnati Bar Association's Health and Wellbeing Committee, which was started 2 years ago to address stress, depression, wellness, health, and various life issues that lawyers have. Our funding sponsor is the Cincinnati Bar Foundation and the Ken Jamison Fund, which is a fund established by the family and friends of Ken Jamison to support the committee's work. And so if you're looking to give a gift to the foundation, we would ask that you make that restrictive in Ken's name. Today's program is being videotaped by this wonderful man here, who videotapes all of our lectures. This is a little more interactive than most of our lectures, but you can see all of our prior lectures, and this lecture in about a month will be on YouTube. Cincinnati Bar Association has a channel now on YouTube, so you can view those. Some of our past lectures include mindfulness, eating right. We have a great lecture on eating to equip your body better for stressful situations. And we also have our most recent video, which was done in January or February here, is actually the sleep lecture, which is done by a local sleep doctor. It's an excellent lecture, and having attended them all, I can say that we have all of our lectures, people have come away with new information. Today's lecture is on fitness. Last year at this time, we did Making Fit Fit, right, gentlemen?
Yes.
Today's lecture is called Sticking to Fit. A lot of us start fitness programs.
Sticking to it, making fit fit.
Wait, I'm sorry. Sticking to it, making fit fit, as Jim says.
Something like that.
Jim likes to correct me. It's okay. I am guilty of not sticking to it. Last year, I had a great trainer, and I would go 3 days a week, and it was mainly strength training and Pilates, and then I got the flu in January, and I had the flu for 3 months. I wasn't well until the beginning of April, and then my trainer left. And so now I have no trainer and no fitness. So I am a poster child for these gentlemen. So today's speakers are Dave Dickey from FitWorks in Anderson, where you are the personal training director, I believe.
The
correct?
general manager, correct.
General manager. And Dave is a Division I NCAA athlete from IUPUI in Indianapolis, and that means Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, for all of those that don't know that. And this young gentleman is my cohort in crime on the Health and Wellbeing Committee, Jim Bogen. He's an attorney and a swimmer. He used to former swimmer at UC.
Swammer.
Swammer. I said swimmer.
Oh, swammer.
Oh, swammer.
It's a new term.
Okay. And Jim is my go-to physical fitness guy on our committee. Anything that is physical fitness related, this man is on it. And I just say, Jim, go with it. And that's how we end up with this presentation today. So today they're going to talk about how to stick with your fitness plan and hopefully get me back on track.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Yeah, when we started How to Make Fit Fit, last year it was just about how to fit it in. And making fit fit is not just about fitting it in. There are different aspects to it. And one of them, the one we're addressing this year, which tends to be a big issue, is sticking to it. Because if you saw my fitness article in the CBA report, one of the things I say in the first paragraph is, by this time, most of the people who've signed up for a gym for New Year's resolutions have quit. And, after I talked to Dave about it and talked to some other people, and we all agree, sticking to your fitness program is a big issue. And there's a number of components we're going to be discussing today about why you do want to stick to your fitness program. Now, actually, a little bit back, let me rewind a little bit back about myself. Like Tabitha said, I'm an attorney. I'm an attorney in solo practice. I focus on criminal, DUI, all things under that umbrella. And naturally, it can be pretty stressful. and you definitely need something to burn that stress. But the first thing I always talk about that's key to sticking your fitness program, I talked about this last year, learn to do it right. Because the number one, how many people here do litigation? Or have done litigation? How many people in here have ever seen somebody go pro se in court? How many people of you in here thought the pro se people looked pretty good and looked just like seasoned attorneys? Well, the number one thing I said this last year, and I said this in my article, trying to exercise without learning how to do it right is a lot like trying to go pro se in court when you don't have any kind of legal background. It's going to look pretty ugly usually. What you see in the gym, you see people wander around aimlessly. Gee, I'll dabble with this machine a little bit. I'll dabble with that machine. I'll do 10 minutes on the stair thing, or I'll try the bike for 5 minutes. Keep no pattern, no regular program, not getting much done on each machine. They don't see much in the way of results, and they get discouraged, and they eventually quit. We see that happen way too often. But in addition to learning how to do it right, well, we want to learn and do it right. A personal trainer is a good investment if you have no experience with exercising. Unless you happen to be lucky enough to have some very good friends who are working out with you who have comparable knowledge, which most people don't. But one other thing about component of learning to do it right is not just learning to do the right things when you're working out, but learning to do the right things when you're outside of the gym, away from your workouts, eating right, getting enough sleep, things like that, where if you're not on the ball with those kinds of things, it's not going to matter what you do in the gym. With diet, it's kind of obvious. If you're trying to get in shape, you don't want to eat McDonald's every day. That's kind of obvious. But sleep is something that in this profession, you see a lot of people having that as an issue. And this is where, making it to the gym, also things like getting your sleep and getting in your meals, you need to be selfish about that. Put time aside for that. Yes, you're going to be losing hours that you could possibly be working, but I guarantee you with the less hours you're working, I think you'll be a lot more productive. But the next component that I think is a key for sticking your fitness program is set realistic goals. And this goes hand in hand. The same people who I see who don't learn to do it right, well, I think one of the other reasons why they get discouraged is because they don't see fast results. I've seen people who want to get looking really buff in a month or less. Maybe a washboard stomach or getting their arms a certain size or something like that. That's not realistic. I think Dave, you can correct me on this. Usually when I see new people start in the gym, I think it usually takes at least 2 to 3 months to start seeing any kind of noticeable change. Would that sound about right?
Depends on where you're starting.
Yeah, exactly. From their baseline, though.
Right. A lot of times people tend to base their goals on watching The Biggest Loser. I love the show, but they're not realistic numbers. Because we all have a normal life we have to live. We have to go to work. We have to tend to our children. We have this. We have that. Those people live on a ranch. If you guys want to come live at my house and go through their type of workouts, absolutely, I'll get you those results. No problem. But in the real world, it's not going to happen that quick. Initially you may see a big blast. If you have a decent amount of weight loss, you may see a good bit of weight drop off right off the bat if you haven't really done much. And then it's going to steady off and become a little more realistic. So, when people come to the gym and they don't set any goals, it's kind of like playing basketball with no hoops. You just kind of dribble around aimlessly. You don't really accomplish anything. So you have to have something to shoot for. You set a target goal, you set your long-term goal, but you set smaller 4 to 6 week goals so you have something to achieve and keep you motivated. That way, when you do get sick and miss some time, you can still reach that short-term goal and not say, oh, I'll never reach that long-term goal, I just won't go back. So you got to have something to keep you focused. You have to have that carrot out there, and that carrot needs to change. Otherwise, it's just going to rot. You're going to get sick of that same old carrot. You need something else to change it and keep you going.
Exactly. The goals can be very simple. It can be, hey, I want to be able to do a certain number of reps with this certain weight on this certain lift within the next couple weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Or maybe, hey, I want to run or bike a certain distance I want to bike or run this distance within a certain amount of time. For me, since I use the stationary bike, I take the kind of reverse approach where I want to cover a certain amount of distance within the allotted time. Yeah, I don't run. But also, so there is I think we made very clear there's no quick fix. Like last year I had at the gym, some high school senior who was about to graduate asked me, how do I get my arms looking really buff by June? And this is beginning of May. I'm just like, I gave him a similar talk that Dave is covered, and I think he ended up getting a trainer because of what I told him. But yeah, there's no quick fixes. And the one thing is, it's not about trying to look like people in the magazines and do not make it about numbers. Numbers, I have a big problem with that because it just makes people do certain things with their diet and fitness program that might not be the healthiest. For example, how many people have we seen lose a lot of weight in a short period of time only to gain it back? That fast results are not good lasting results. And you have to keep in mind when you're doing a fitness program, you're doing strength training as well, which I highly recommend because I think that's building a foundation for keeping your mobility and independence when you're older. You are gonna put on some muscle. And the one thing I do have a problem with that body mass index that goes around too. Dave and I had a discussion about that last week. According to that BMI, I'm considered obese.
As am I.
Yeah. Maybe we need to go on crash diets.
Right.
Point being, do not make it about numbers. As Dave would say, make it about being fit. And everybody has their own. Of course, how you're going to, what's fit for you is going to depend on what your fitness goals are and what your genetics are. Again, it's not about trying to look like people in the magazines. If you can look like those people, fantastic, but that's not what it's about. And the next thing that I think is key to sticking your fitness program, you always got to switch things up. I think the conventional approach tends to be switch things up maybe, every 4 to 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. I tend to take a little bit more of a drastic approach and rotate my lifts maybe every 3 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks because I get bored really quickly. It can be simple things like for cardio, bike instead of run, or use the elliptical, or if you're lifting weights, for example, with bench press, you could do them with dumbbells, you could do it with a barbell, or you could use any of a number of machines. And I like to rotate between those things every few weeks. It's not necessarily think about what's the best way to work a certain body part in a certain way. I think of it more in terms of what way haven't I worked it lately. And that's something that it basically keeps your body guessing, it keeps your mind fresh. And yes, it is good to take a week off every now and then. Trying to stick through it without a break, you're going to get mentally stale, and your body's just going to get too adjusted to everything, and you'll plateau. And of course, finally, the last component I like to talk about for one key to sticking to your fitness program is make the time for it. As I said, you need to be selfish about it. Make the time. Don't just say, I'll get it if I fit. Oh, if I can't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow. I always like to set the goals of, I am going to go into the gym on this day, this day, this day, and this day, and on each day, this is what I'm going to get done. I'm very selfish about that time. Of course, not to the point of where I'll miss my son's swim meets or anything like that, but obviously, during the week, I'm going to be very selfish about that because in the big picture, I know where I'm headed if I don't stick to it. But anyway, at this point, I'll turn the floor over to Dave. And
One thing I will disagree with what you said about is genetics. Genetics, in my opinion, is a cop-out. Genetics will determine if you're tall or short, but usually people follow the mold of their family because they follow the habits of their family. So you can break that mold anytime you want. You know, I'm the most fit person in my family. I'm the youngest in my family. You know, my father was a professional basketball player, so yes, I get the height from him. But as far as being fit, I got that on my own. You know, my brother's overweight, my sister's overweight, you know, but I live in a gym. So I broke the mold. You know, we can all break the mold. There's no set schedule that says that this is your chromosome, you're going to be this way. Yeah, some people do have medical issues, I understand that. But as far as blaming genetics, to me that's a cop-out, sorry.
Well, of course, what I meant with that is certain physical activities you'll be more proficient at than others.
Right.
There's no genetics that will keep you from reaching some level of fit.
Right. As far as, you know, knowing what to do, you know, a lot of times people come into the gym, anybody can figure out the machines. They all have diagrams on them. They all tell you exactly what to do. But if you don't know how to put them together, it'd be like if I were the top chef in the world and I could make your favorite meal. I go to Kroger, I get all the ingredients, set them on your counter and walk out. You're probably not going to make the same meal I am because you don't know how much of what to put in there. You know, having a trainer or having an educated workout partner will allow you to put the proper ingredients together to get what you're looking for. You know, and as you're seeing results, that's going to keep you more motivated to stay with it. A lot of people want to get P90X or, you know, one of those videos to do at home. Those are great if you know what you're doing. Because if you don't, you know, the guys in the video are not going to say, you're doing that wrong. And you can be doing it wrong. You know, I know people personally who have gotten hurt doing some of those exercises because they don't know how to do them. And nobody's there to correct their form. And then when you put that video on and you get tired, you just kind of stroll away from it. You know, they're not going to say, get your butt back over here and get back to work. Whereas a trainer or a consistent workout partner is going to keep you motivated. You know, so if you can get a buddy, if you can get a trainer, get them. Because accountability is key. It's easy to give up on yourself. But if you know somebody there is counting on you, you know, you're going to be there to be with them.
He's exactly right on that. One of the reasons why I work out at the FitWorks out there in Anderson, I drive there from Hyde Park, is because the guys I have there to work out with. And that's one thing I left out, but I'll agree with Dave, that's a huge key, and that's when having the right people around is one of the key things that's kept me motivated and helped me improve. And when you have workout partners there to push you, hey, I think you can use more weight. Oh, I think you got another rep or two there. Mm-hmm. They'll push you and make each other better.
You know, and you know, to piggyback on what James is saying, as far as having time and making time, you know, you do have to be selfish about it. Because, you know, I have a 3-year-old little girl, just turned 3 yesterday. She is my absolute world. But without me healthy, I'm useless. So, believe it or not, she gets mad at me if she can't work out with me. She'll do mountain climbers. She'll play with kettlebells. She'll do battle ropes. She does it all. You know, and before we leave the gym, I have to pick her up to the pull-up bar so she can get her pull-ups in.
I've seen him do that.
But, you know, I mean, you have to make that time. You know, a lot of people say, well, having a personal trainer is expensive. You ever priced a heart attack? You ever priced diabetes? You know, you can prevent a lot of those by being healthy. You know, in my lifetime...
Or injuries from doing it wrong?
Yeah. I've called into work probably 4 times in my life for being sick. And I've been working since I was 14 years old. But because I take care of myself from the inside out, I don't get sick very often. You know, I'm not going to say I don't get a sniffle here and there, but I'm hardly ever bedridden, you know, because I do take care of myself. You know, John Hopkins just released a statement saying that having a proper diet and nutrition is actually a lot better at treating cancer than chemotherapy and radiation therapy. Now, that's huge coming from a company who is known for prescribing medications to get you well. You know, it's a business. They want to give you all this medication so they can keep you well, but also make money. But if you can prevent all of that and you can help yourself by taking care of the inside out, you know, we can prevent a lot of this, you know, worrying about healthcare costs and, you know, Obamacare and this, that, and the other. It's not an issue if you're healthy. So one of the things we need to do is focus on ourselves, focus on our health, and stick with the program. Like I said, get a friend, get a trainer, get somebody to keep you accountable. Make the time. And we all have busy schedules. I know as attorneys, you guys are sometimes working 24 hours to solve one little stupid case that keeps nagging you along. But you got to have some you time, otherwise you're going to drive yourself crazy. I work in a gym, and it's hard for me to work out sometimes. So I have a gym at my house. Fortunately, I have the liberty to have all the equipment, but we brought some simple equipment to show you guys little things you can buy for your house. A lot of people want to buy a treadmill. I will tell you, do not do it. You have the ability to walk outside for free. Don't waste the money. You can either use it toward simple equipment. It doesn't take up a lot of space. James and I will show you guys how to use a lot of this stuff. Or you can put it toward a gym membership. That way you have more access than just a simple treadmill. As far as nutrition is huge. A lot of people want to try this diet or that diet or that diet. Diets are temporary and awful. I tell people all the time there's a reason that word starts with die, because you usually feel like you want to die, or some of them can literally actually kill you. So if you want it to be a permanent change, it's got to be a lifestyle change. I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say I never eat fast food. Every once in a while I'll go to Wendy's, get 4 double stacks, and love every greasy bit of it. But, 4. But the bulk of the way I eat is healthy. I keep a George Foreman grill at my desk. I'm that dork that comes to the family cookouts with my own bag of food because I don't want to eat the crap that they serve. But, I also don't want to be in the position that a lot of them are in. So, don't feel uncomfortable bringing your own food, because if people want to judge you, so what? You're the only one that is guaranteed to live with you for the rest of your life. So you have to focus on you. Do you want to go in and show some of the different exercises? Or do you guys have any questions first? Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to them how exercise can offset stress? And that might be a question for Jim, because he has this stressful job.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed when I was working out regularly, I would have a really bad day, and I would go there, and then I would do, crunches, or I would do whatever, usually something, strength building, and then I would feel better. I would, it's an endorphin
Exactly.
issue. So.
Yes. You want to start?
I think you've hit most of the physiological part on the head. Yeah, it's a great release, because I've noticed how many times I get home from work, I'm stressed out. I go to the gym, I feel a heck of a lot better. It's, of course, the way I work out, similar to the way Dave works out, it's just a very physical stress release. And I think that's a necessity. You're going to feel a lot better doing that than sitting around stewing about whatever the heck it is you're worried or stressed out about. And one of the reasons why we started doing this, and why Tabitha and I talked about doing this program, is because one of the underlying keys to our committee is law is a very stressful profession, and addressing stress tends to be the pink elephant in the room nobody really talks about, except maybe at that CLE that we have to do every couple years.
It doesn't necessarily have to be weight training to release your stress. A lot of people do yoga. One of our trainers, he specializes in boxing. How many times have you had somebody, whether it be a client or an opposing attorney, that you wanted to punch in the face? You just go up to that punching bag and you imagine they're there and you let it out. And when you're done, you're like, I'm good. Now when you see that person, you don't necessarily want to act on it because you've already taken care of it. What's that?
You still do, but you don't.
Right. You don't act on it because you've already taken care of. It's kind of like
you don't want to have to hire me.
When you want to send that email to your boss who's got on your nerves, you write what you really want to say, and then you put the politically correct version after you deleted it. You get it out of your system. So, you just want to get it out of your system, get that release. Some people like to run for their release. I personally don't run unless I'm being chased. So, I like to lift weights. I flip tires. We pull cars. We pull trucks. We do all kinds of crazy stuff. Sledgehammers. We have all kinds of fun. But it's a good release. I can be having the worst day in the world. And my boss knows if I'm in a bad mood, I'm not going to be able to present to anybody. I will put my headphones on and go right to the weights. I'm like, give me 30 minutes. And I'll come back, be good to go. And he's like, all right, let's go, back to work. He knows that if I'm at that level, let him go, let him release, let him come back. Otherwise, I'm worthless. And think about how many times you've been frustrated and then you can't figure out something very simple that you would do on a normal basis. You're so frustrated. But if you walk away and come back, it's like, okay, whatever your stress relief is, the fitness side of it is going to release those endorphins. There's a reason I keep a picture of my daughter on my phone. When I'm in a bad mood and I can't get to the gym, I look at it and I remember that smile. And that's why I do what I do. So, you got to keep your motivation, whatever it may be, whether it be getting into that outfit that you wanted to get into, or, you want to be able to go to the beach and show off your abs, or, whatever it may be. You have that goal, and you have to remember your why, your reason you're doing what you're doing. Never lose track of your why.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
First, do you have to have a shaved head to be in shape? Second, do you have an opinion on whether you think it is more beneficial, or does it matter at all what time of day you tend to work out?
The best time of day to work out is the time that works best for you. That's why I don't like when, you read online and it says you should never eat after this time. You don't know my schedule. So whenever you can fit it in, get it in. I do security work as well. There'll be nights I get off at 2:30 in the morning. I go out to my bench in my garage and get my workout in. There'll be times I get my daughter up at 6 a.m. to take her to school. I'll work out then. I get a lunch break, work out then. So it really doesn't matter. Whenever you can get it in is the best time to get it in. And no, you don't have to have a shaved head.
Yeah, the shaved head is nice, but not necessary.
Low maintenance.
Very low. You want to start with the demos now?
Yeah. Any other questions before we kind of demo some simple exercises that you guys can do? Okay.
What do you want to start with?
You want to start with the wheel since it's next to you?
Okay. He was torturing me with this beforehand.
I'm sure everybody's seen a basic ab wheel. It's very great. It's a lot harder than it looks. Yes, and it's probably like back in a corner somewhere. I always thought it was a toy when I was a kid, and I'm like, these things are stupid. And then when I got to training, I was like, ooh. Yeah, so there's a variety of different things you can do.
Yeah.
You can go.
There's a whole lot of stuff you knew, Abs.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh,
You can go straight out. And then you can also Y off.
I did that already.
Yeah, we're going to do it again so everybody can see it. That way you kind of start working those obliques a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Do you recommend something like that as opposed to crunches?
No, I think abs are something that you can really, there's so much room for variation. And I tend to like crunches because they're easier on your back instead of sit-ups. And I think you get a more concentrated workout on that. But crunches work the upper and maybe middle abs.
Right.
But, there are things you can do, leg lifts or knee ups to work your lower abs.
You can do a basic plank.
Yeah, I was about to demo that.
Planks are always a good one, kind of works the whole core. You can do what's called a crossover, which I don't know if you've done those yet. But a crossover, you start in kind of a push-up position, opposite knee, opposite elbow. Just a simple movement like that.
Yeah, and then there are different ways to work your oblique muscles where you can just pick up a dumbbell and do this. Personally, I don't favor weights when doing that because I usually just do side crunches or something without weights because the abs are like any other muscle. If you work them heavy, they can bulk up. And obviously one of the things with doing abs is a lot of people want to slim their waist. I see people, use a lot of weight on certain ab exercises, and I'm just like, well, if that's your fitness goal, because it is important to strengthen your abs. But the one thing I will say here too, I don't know, obviously I don't know what everybody in here has heard, but there's no such thing as spot reduction for fat. You know, doing a lot of ab work by itself will not give you that ripped stomach. It's really doing your overall fitness program and mainly adding in, I think, cardio.
Nutrition.
Nutrition and
is
cardio.
The main thing when it comes to.
Well, I'm talking about from the exercise standpoint.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of people say they watch TV and they see the abdominizer, the ab lounge, the ab shocker, or whatever it is, you know, and they say you'll get a six-pack abs in this time. All those guys are models. All those ladies are models. If you read the bottom of the screen, it says strict diet and exercise are required to retain these results not typical, you know, because they are paid models. They are not going to give you a six-pack at all. They're not going to flatten your stomach at all. They will strengthen it, but they will not flatten it.
They might give you something good to do some variety,
right.
But there's no spot reduction or anything like that. It's your overall fitness program, which I believe if you do resistance training before you do your cardio, I think Dave, you've read the same thing. Your body actually will burn more fat because when you do the resistance training, you're going to use the glycogen stores in your muscles. And when those glycogen stores are tapped out by the time you get to your cardio, your body's going to start tapping into your body fat to burn that off.
And in the long run, you're going to get more out of strength training than just cardio. You know, to be honest with you, the only way I do cardio is playing softball. And I play in a co-ed league, so I don't run much. So, you know, the way I've been able to, let me preface what I'm about to say this. I set my body up to work properly for me. I've been able to get my body fat down to 4% with zero cardio. I didn't follow a diet, zero cardio. It was just the way I was training and the way I was eating. You know, when you put on lean muscle, your body's going to burn for days afterwards. If you're just doing cardio, you're only going to burn for a few hours afterwards. And if you're not doing cardio in your proper target heart zone, you're actually going to wind up burning more muscle than you're burning fat.
Which actually I think can come from when you go make your pulse rate too high when you're doing cardio.
Correct. You know, it's kind of like if you watch the Olympics and you watch a distance runner. You know, they look like they've kind of been locked in a closet for a little while. And then you see a sprinter and they've got that nice chiseled muscle tone because a sprinter is peak and valley, peak and valley, peak and valley. Distance runner is burn, 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 burn. You know, I mean, there's nothing to them. You know, so the ultimate goal is to be fit, not skinny. You know, there's a lot of skinny people out there that are going to die before somebody overweight because they're just not healthy. Their casket will just be lighter than somebody else's. You know, so at the end of the day, it's all about being fit. I don't like how, you know, the media portrays all these beanpole women and warps the mind of all these young girls growing up to say, oh, you need to be a size 00. No, you do not, unless you are 3 years old. So, you know, it's okay to have curves. It's okay to weigh a little bit more than they want you to weigh. As long as you look the way you want to look, you feel the way you want to feel, and your body fat's in a healthy range. You know, you can get your body fat tested at any gym. You know, a lot of people don't like the calipers. We use a handheld unit. It's easy. You can hold it. They'll check your body fat right there, no problem. You know, we tell our clients all the time, I don't care what you weigh. You know, because like we said, I'm considered obese. There's a lot of women that will like my waist size. So how are you going to consider me obese? I don't know. But every professional athlete on the planet is probably obese because they have too much muscle.
Too much weight in proportion to their height.
Yeah, the BMI is an antiquated system. They need to just completely do away with it.
So if you're trying to lose weight, how much weight resistance should you be doing, incorporating? Should you be doing it daily or how many minutes? That kind of thing?
We usually have our clients do 3 to 4 days of weight training, you know, for about 30 minutes. And then you can incorporate, you know, 20, 30 minutes of cardio, you know, anywhere from 3 to 7 days a week, just depending on what your goal is and the length of time you have.
And again, you don't want to think of it so much as losing a certain amount of weight, more about trying to get your body into a certain level of fitness, because as you do the resistance training, you will gain good weight from that.
You know, and I always ask people, what size would you like to be, as opposed to what weight would you like to be? You know, give you an example, my stepdaughter, She started training with us. She's 25 now. She started training with us in May of last year. She had just given birth in February, so she was 220, almost 230 pounds. She's 5'10". So fast forward to a year later, she is now 163 pounds and a size 5. When she graduated from high school, she was 166 pounds and a size 8 to 10. So she weighs 3 pounds less than she did in high school, and she's 3 sizes smaller. But she has more muscle. So, that's why we try to get people not to focus on the weight so much as opposed to the size you want to be and how you feel. Yes, ma'am.
After years of wearing 3-4-inch heels, I have problems with my knees.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of exercises would you recommend? I mean, is the elliptical better versus the treadmill or?
Elliptical will be better because it's less impact. You can do a bicycle, you can do a row machine. As far as cardio-wise, you're going to want to build up your quads. Quad strength is very important with women, because knee injuries are very, very common with women, especially female athletes, just because the way your hip structure is lined. Your knees are slightly off.
It has a shearing effect on the knee.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you get that quad strength in there. And if you're walking in heels a lot, you're going to want to put your foot on the edge of a step and drop that heel down. That way you make sure you stretch that Achilles. That way it doesn't tear on you like mine did.
And then there's certain leg exercises with weights you can do to help too. Leg extensions, leg curls, particularly. Those aren't the only leg exercises to do, of course, but just a couple that can directly strengthen the area around your knee.
And if you don't want to use weights per se, you can do lunges. Lunges are always good for you.
Demo.
They're awful.
No,
But
usually causes my knee to feel worse.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how you do them too.
right. One of the main things you want to do, like when you step out for a lunge, go ahead and step out. You want to make sure your knee stays behind the tip of your toe. A lot of times when people lunge, they lunge like this. And that's putting all the pressure right there on the front of your knee. And it is going to hurt. Good knees are bad.
And if you want to add a little resistance, you can do them with dumbbells too. And I personally prefer the walking forward lunges whenever I do them, which I'll do them after a set of heavy squats or leg press, just to finish without weight, just to finish my muscles off, my legs off.
And like if you're doing your lunges and propelling is hurting your knee, you can just do a static lunge where you're just going straight up and down. That way it's gonna burn. You're definitely gonna feel it until you build that strength up in the knee. Have you had any MRI structural damage or anything like that?
No,
Or?
I did have x-rays done. There's signs of pre-arthritis.
Okay.
I'm only 40. So.
Right. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting them moving, strengthening those muscles so your knees and your joints don't take all the pressure. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You're doing strength and cardio. Does it matter when you do the strength as opposed to cardio? Should it be like every other day?
You can do them both on the same day. You just want to do your strength training first. Kind of like what James was saying before. But you're going to get more in the long run out of strength training. And if, let's say you're halfway through your workout and you get an emergency call, you have to leave. You can duplicate your cardio at home, but you can't duplicate the weights at home. So you're best to just get it in while you're at the gym, get it done, and then, get your cardio in afterwards. Plus, I always tell people, you're much better off getting tired on a machine where you can hit stop as opposed to having weight above your head.
Yeah, because if I do cardio first before weights, just from back my days when I was swimming, we'd lift after swimming, which obviously back then lifting was a supplement, not my primary thing. It does affect what you're able to do with the weights, but I think the ideal situation is to be able to do it all in one workout, do your strength training, and then do your cardio, so you get that fat burning effect, and you get a good, strong weight workout. Because let's face it, one of the things that encourages us guys to stick to our weight programs is being able to lift more weight. Human nature. And obviously, there's just that psychological aspect too. But from a physiological aspect, obviously the fat burning effect and so on, that's why I have my preference.
Another thing when it comes to strength training, I always tell people, check your ego at the door, because that's going to get you hurt, especially if you were a former athlete. I get it all the time where, I was a defensive end, I'm going to come in, load up the bar, and they get stuck. And then their pride's hurt, so they don't want to come back.
It's not the weight you use, it's what you do with it that counts.
Right. So like I said, even if you've been going for a while and you've taken some time off, remember, you've taken time off. So start where you start and then progress back up there. Yes, ma'am.
This might sound like a stupid question, but is strength training the same as resistance training? Or
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can do resistance with weights, or you can use these things.
Right. You can use a basic resistance band.
You can use it. You can do curls, or if you want to get really creative, there's someone taught me this, where if you want to do push-ups, you can put the band across for more resistance. If you feel like it can be sometimes you might want to say, hey, instead of doing bench press, maybe I might do this, or just straight push-ups, or whatever fits you.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of exercises you can do with this. You can attach this to one end, do shoulder strengthening exercises. Okay, thank you. Like this for strengthening your rotator cuff, which if you're doing this exercise, keep your elbow planted here and bring it all the way out like this. You can also do some tricep work here, Dave. This, which, like this. Or if you want to work the muscle from a different angle, I suppose you could do it like this too.
Yeah, these resistance bands are very good. I have a lot of clients that travel. So when they go, I'll say, here, take this with you. You already know what to do with your workout. Get it done. So, if you don't have access, if you go to a hotel that doesn't have access, or, you go camping or something like that, something like this is very simple. You can fit it into your bag. Obviously it's going to be hard to take a kettlebell or, a big Swiss ball or anything like that, but this is very simple. You can take it with you. It's not going to put your bag over the limit. If it is, you need to take out those extra pair of shoes.
You want to demo the medicine ball?
Yeah, there's a variety of different things you can do, medicine ball wise.
Chest pass.
It's just something simple you can do if you have a partner. You can, if you've got kids, you guys can play with the ball at home.
And you can also,
This one is about 12, I think it's 12 pounds. Yeah. No, I mean, we have one that's as light as 2 pounds. They make them as heavy as probably 100 pounds. But I would recommend not getting that one.
Yeah, and if you don't have a partner, you can do them on the wall too, which we did these a lot when I was swimming at UC, so we learned to do that right away. Usually we had partners, but you can do the chest pass on the wall. Go a little closer. You can do the overhead pass, or again, the squat.
Probably outside your house, not on your driveway.
Yeah.
Of course, the best place to do it might be...
Not unless you're doing demo. Another thing you can do with these, going back to the ab reference, a lot of times people like to do what they call Russian twists. You can just go from side to side, nice and simple.
Or sometimes you see people do abs in tandem where they toss the medicine ball to each other too.
Right.
I personally don't do that, but...
Yeah, or
I've
you
seen
can
it
do
done.
where they do back to back.
Okay.
Even if he is a little bit shorter,
Yep.
you just pass it from side to side.
Works the obliques.
Just simple exercises that you can do like that. Another great ab exercise.
Uh-oh.
You can go on the ball. I'm the trainer and not the trainee.
Exactly. I'm just a client. I'm not a certified trainer, which is why I asked him to help me with this.
Go ahead and walk your feet out and lean back.
Okay.
Spread your feet, get yourself a nice base. And then you can either crunch all the way up.
Like that?
Uh-huh. Or you can even put your hands in like you're diving into a pool,
Oh,
reach
yeah.
up toward my hand.
Oh, yeah. Something like this gives you a good focal point, too.
Absolutely. And it causes you to not pull on your neck. A lot of times people want to do sit-ups like this, and you wind up pulling on your neck. I recommend people not put your hands behind your head. You can put them on your temples, you can cross them over, or, like James did, you can put them like you're diving into a pool. But whatever keeps you from pulling on your neck.
And point a certain direction, too,
Right.
instead of just doing all sorts of contorting or whatever else.
This can also come in handy at your desk, which gets used by Miss Demity back there. You can actually sit at your desk and do your work. It's very good for your spine, keep you from slouching. You'll actually catch yourself and you'll start rolling from side to side. You may start bouncing up and down. It's not going to pop, so don't worry, unless you have something sharp in your pocket. But, and they make them in a variety of different sizes. They actually make a base for them as well. So if you're not as comfortable sitting on it with it rolling like this, they make a base chair.
One for one of our employees was pregnant, and she just was having a hard time, and so we bought her a ball chair, and now everybody on the floor wants to take turns using it.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. What else do we have? Kettlebell.
I'm very unfamiliar with this, so
If
that looks too heavy for you.
If you ever want to buy any type of weights for the house, kettlebells are great, because it doesn't take a lot of weight. This is a 25-pound kettlebell. You can literally work every muscle in your body. One of the basic exercises you see people do is just a basic swing. You can do a swing just like so. They have where you can do a snatch, where you're coming up.
So why are kettlebells, why would you consider them better than just the free weights at the same weight?
They're functional, very, very functional.
Just the way they're designed?
Correct. And with the design of them, you can work your stabilizers a lot better. And like I said, there's so many different things you can do with just one weight. That way you don't have to have two all the time.
And one thing that's important, too, he said working all the muscles, there's always this inclination. We were talking about this before you came in, about how you see a lot of people, when they get older, their shoulders are hunched over. Because the only kind of work their muscles get is pushing exercises. You need to balance it out with pulling motions, too. And there's some pulling exercises you could do with a kettlebell, too.
Yeah, you can do a variety. You can do just a basic row, that's going to work the back, rear delts. It's going to work your back a little bit. A lot of times, like James was saying, people have what it's called an upper cross syndrome, and they rotate forward. Very, very common with women. Women have a natural pull up front, and most of the things, like James was saying, you do is pushing away. So you start to roll forward. You also see it when you go to the gym and you see the big muscle heads that walk around like bulldogs, because all they do is chest. But if you work those rear delts, it's going to pull you back in alignment.
And your lat muscles.
Right.
I actually have a 4-day split on my program. Monday I do chest, shoulders. Tuesday I do just back. Rows, lat pull downs, both wide grip and narrow grip. Wednesday I do legs, Thursday I do arms, which is the most fun day, usually. Well, for guys it usually is. And that's just what fits with my particular schedule, because of when I get my son on weekends and so on. I like to basically keep it at those 4 days so that things can stay very consistent. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the keys to consistency, too, is try to do it make sure the time that works for you is as consistent as possible. Of course, nobody's schedule is perfect. And for example, on Memorial Day, when the gym was closed at 3, usually I get to the gym after 3. I'm like, okay, I have to go in there around noon or 1. And, sometimes you have to roll with it like that. But you want to try to keep it on a consistent schedule as much as possible, because that's just one way to help your results have better results over time.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about how to avoid lower back injury doing that kettlebell and stuff like that? I used to know about a lot when I was younger, and now, with fitness, people want to do these things, and I feel it in my back way.
As far as like trainers, you're working with trainers in there? They need to monitor your form, because if you're feeling it in your back, it means you're probably doing this a little too much. One of the things I always tell people, when you're going to do a swing, find something on the ceiling to focus on. It's kind of like you're going to squat back, but you always want to find something. As soon as your head dips, you're taking all that pressure on your lower back and you're putting that pivot there. But if you keep your chest up, just like if you're doing a squat, you want to keep that chest up, let your butt come back, and you want to keep that head up. Otherwise you will feel a lot of pain in your lower back. I actually blew a disc in my back my junior year of high school. They wanted to fuse my vertebrae together my sophomore year of college. I said, I'm a basketball player. It's not going to happen. So by strengthening my core, working on my flexibility, no surgery to this day.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons why you want to work your core is to prevent back problems like that. And a lot of your core problems come from a lack of abdominal strength, but you also want to strengthen those lower back muscles too.
Yeah, and then work that flexibility. How is your flexibility? Okay. Yeah, hamstring flexibility is key. Another thing that people don't work on the flexibility is actually in your glutes, which sounds crazy, but a simple stretch you can do to work that. When you sit in a chair, cross your leg over. Actually, let me grab a chair and I'll show you. When you sit in a chair, just kind of go to the edge of your chair, cross your leg over like you're sitting normally, take your elbow and push down, and actually lean forward. And you will feel that stretch all the way up through your glutes. Because a lot of times people will stretch those hamstrings, but they don't stretch the glutes, and that's what's going to attach on your back. So if you actually do that stretch now, you'll feel it, and you'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. Hamstrings, definitely, a lot of people don't realize your hamstrings tie into your lower back, and it ties into your ability to have good posture and all sorts of other good stuff. And I think the base, what our head trainer at UC told me when I had some hamstring flexibility / back problems, you want to be able to line your back and bring your leg up 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am?
You said to do strength before the cardio if you're doing a combo.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go straight into strength cold. I mean, you warm up somehow. Because I've been doing the opposite. I've been doing the cardio as kind of like 10, 15 minutes on the treadmill or elliptical kind of as a warm up and then
Right.
strength. So I just figured that was a good way to warm up.
It depends on what muscle groups you're working. If you're working upper body, doing legs, doing cardio with your legs is not really going to warm your upper body up too much. But if you're going to do legs, you can do 5-10 minutes. I don't consider that cardio. I consider that warm up. So you can do a 5 or 10 minute warm up on a piece of cardio equipment. But if you're doing, let's say you're going to do chest or back, just do some light warm up sets.
Yeah, you see, one big mistake I see some people make is they go right to the heavy weight without warming up.
In addition to warming up, is there stretching that you recommend before and after?
When you do your strength training, you don't want to stretch until afterwards. Because what happens is when you start stretching beforehand, it actually engages your blockers, and they can actually cause you to do more damage than good. So, you get those warm-up in. If I'm doing bench press, I'll stretch by taking the weight and setting it on my chest. That is my extent of stretching. I'll warm up, so I'll take, some light weights, kind of get my shoulders going, just get some basic movement like that just to get the blood flowing to the areas. But as far as, seeing me out there doing all this, I'm not going to do that until after I'm done.
Helps you recover.
Right.
And one thing I also like to do before I do chest or shoulders is I like to do those shoulder strengthening exercises. You just take a light weight like this, you do pendulums, 10 each way like this, and then those rotator cuff exercises you saw me demonstrating. But then I also like take some light weights, do some light laterals just to get the blood going to the muscles and kind of strengthen. The shoulder joint can be not the most stable joint, and you need to take care of your shoulders. And one of the things, obviously because of swimming, my shoulders obviously took a bit of a hit, is I ice after all my workouts. It just takes 10 minutes. Get those disposable ice packs. Ice my shoulders, ice my knees, and I've never had to take any painkillers, never had to get any surgery or anything like that. It directly attacks the inflammation. And just on a non-scientific way of putting it, it makes you feel a lot better. I'm just sitting there in my recliner.
Yes, sir.
When you
I love it if it's done properly. The HIIT, high intensity interval training, basically done on a timer. So you'll do maybe a minute of work, 15 seconds of rest. But that is actually how I get my cardio in if I'm going to do it. You know, I'll do it with kettlebells, tires. I'll set up stations, and I'll just go.
Like a circuit?
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't like doing the hamster wheel. That's not my thing. But I'll do it with kettlebells and battle ropes and all that stuff. But I love the HIIT. You know, a lot of people are going to CrossFit now. I have mixed opinions on CrossFit. If you get in the proper gym, it's great. But if you get in the wrong gym, there's probably an 85% chance of injury because they work you to complete exhaustion. And that's not good.
It has to be something that works for you too, because there are things that they do in CrossFit which don't work for everybody.
Right, and there's things that are done in traditional gyms. You know, so one thing I always tell people is make sure you don't ask what people's certifications are. Ask their qualifications, because there are plenty of certified trainers out there that are awful.
And the thing about a certified trainer is that they'll talk to you about your fitness goals and so on and design a program that works for you instead of using some cookie cutter program from a magazine. For example, you look at some pro bodybuilders program in muscle and fitness. They're doing a gazillion sets of this or that, but you have to keep in mind, this is what they do for a living, and they might or might not be taking certain things that we don't.
No, they are. If they are a professional bodybuilder, they have a list of chemicals that they do not put on their workout. So never trust a professional bodybuilder's workout. Never trust a professional figure model's workout. You know, not to say that they're not good, but usually 98% of them have a little bit of help.
General principles work from them, like certain lifts that work and so on, but when you take a look at the sheer volume of sets they do, the one thing about certain supplements that we're talking about is they allow your body to recover a lot faster and train effectively at a higher volume. And more is definitely not better.
Yes, ma'am.
We're right at the end.
Yes.
Can you just tell everyone, just briefly, what they should eat before working out and after? I think that you guys talked about that last time, and I thought that was really interesting.
We like to divide our meals up during the day. It's not so much... I think you can take any of our given meals and use them as a pre-workout meal, because it's not necessarily just the meal you eat before a couple hours before your workout. I always like to eat my last meal a couple hours before I work out, because for me personally, if it's sitting eat too soon before my workout, it's sitting my stomach. But you just want to have a good balance of complex carbohydrates and protein and other nutrients in each meal.
You guys recommend any supplements? Like just whether it's protein powder or anything else that you think can
If you can't get enough protein in, you know, protein powders are great supplements to take.
Yeah.
Outside of that, legally, I can't tell you any certain supplements to take. What part of town do you live in?
Eastside,
Go over to NutriShop over in Eastgate. It's right next to Jungle Gyms. Go in there, talk to those guys. They're very knowledgeable. They're not going to steer you in any direction, but they'll tell you what's there. Yeah.
But there are certain supplements that do help that are legal and don't have the same side effects as, say, steroids. Of course, conversely, they won't build you up like steroids either. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
just
more
like,
for form.
You know,
pre-workout, post-workout recovery thing versus, pre-workout thing,
right. Since I won't tell you what to take, but I'll give you this. Branched chain aminos are good for my body. Hint, hint, wink, wink. If you're feeling soreness, glutamine is good for my body. A lot of people like pre-workouts. I personally do not do them. Like I said, I do some security and bodyguard work, so I need to know exactly what kind of strength I have. I don't need to rely on a pre-workout. But there's plenty of pre-workouts out there. Some of them have caffeine, some of them do not. You know, I can't take a lot of those because I had a heart surgery, a few years ago, so I can't get that jolt. But there's a lot of different pre-workouts out there.
Sometimes people just do something as simple as drink a cup of coffee.
I was going to say, my pre-workout is black coffee.
Because I'll be honest, I've tried some of those pre-workouts and my heart would just start racing. I'm just like, I'm just like, okay, this isn't feeling healthy.
Yeah.
And there's also some other supplements that other people like to use. There are people who use creatine. There's this other stuff called HMB, which actually inhibits muscle breakdown. It's not something that is like going to affirmatively build you up. But the thing is about supplements, they're just supplements. They're not substitutes. You need to have a good diet, good sleep, and a good training program for any of that stuff. That stuff, you can take all the supplements in the world, but if you don't have those key base components, it's not going to matter.
You'll wind up with expensive urine.
Yeah, it's the same way so for the sake of argument, you talk about steroids. Even those don't work without having the right base things. Not that obviously we're very against taking those, but.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you both for.
Thank you all.
Thank you.